Revelation 1363. From the 31st of March 1940. God-Denier. The spirit of man, whose distance from God becomes so obvious, sinks into enormous depth. He has taken earthly existence upon himself in order to conclude an endless change through form, and he has regressed, because he lacks one thing, to want to find and recognize God. And his will always deny everything that lets God be recognized and affirmed. Thus his walk on earth is only a transition to a new form of the banished state, to lifelessness in the hereafter, which is likewise used by all God-serving forces to reshape his thinking in order to prevent the unspeakably agonizing course through all matter, the renewed way of education, and to lead the soul to the right destiny. But that effort will be far more difficult in the hereafter, since the lightless state entails a hardening of one's will, and any attempt can fail because of this will. Only the prayer of a person on earth can save him from the last downfall, since this comes tangibly to his consciousness and can be the first and only occasion to change his mind. On earth, his soul is dwelling in a power which forces him to rebel against everything divine and which has its origin in the kingdom of darkness. It strengthens him in the feeling of his own arrogance. It always lets his thoughts take that direction which again leads to God-rejecting results. It captivates him in such a way that all counterforce remains ineffective, since the own will resists this force and submits to that force. Thus again, the objection of why God has created the human being just in such a way and not differently, is invalid. The human being has the right of determination over himself and his thoughts, and everyone is given the possibility to change his thoughts. But the own will must be active thereby. If the will is however stronger and therefore not ready to examine the past thoughts, then every effort of good spiritual strength is unsuccessful. The concept of God of such a person is completely eliminated from his thoughts, because he does not like the recognition of a power to which he have to submit himself. In his opinion, the creation is the result of a force, which arbitrarily also let the human being come into being as a product of always constant natural forces, however, not granting any deeper purpose to these living beings. He sees therefore the earth-time as haphazard, without any purpose in the worldly sense, but dependent on the intelligence of every man, to master it independently according to ability. And therefore all striving of such a man will be only for worldly improvements. He seeks to promote a certain well-being and calls this an activity in love. However, this love is only for bodily needs, and that is always motivated by the increase of one's own well-being. For only that which makes the passage through earthly life more bearable seems valuable to him, and again he believes that man himself can bring about the improvement of earthly existence through the right attitude toward it. However, to what extent the wrong spiritual attitude is the motive of an aggravated earthly life, is beyond his knowledge. That is, he does not want to understand it, since this concession would also require from him a different way of life, which again does not correspond to his desire for the world and his thinking. And such people remain far behind in their spiritual development, because all trials, all suffering and all other help sent to them does not bring about a change of the wrong thinking, as long as the urge for truth does not become powerful in him and the transitoriness of all earthly things comes to his consciousness. Only then would it be possible for the will to become more docile and less rejecting. Therefore, fighting and praying for such souls should not cease, because as long as man stays on earth, help can be granted to him and it can be received and used, while in the hereafter, he lacks any strength to do so, and only the prayer of man can provide him relief, if his will has no upwards desire. Amen.